told the House of Lords Select Committee earlier this month that people were unwilling to self-isolate because of financial pressures. We also now learn that test and trace doesn't make the same inroads in poorer areas as it does in more well-off areas, where the pressure to self-isolate or not self-isolate because of financial pressures is going to be higher. So can I again ask the Secretary of State, can he make an announcement about sick pay and access to extra help for those who need to self-isolate but who perhaps cannot really afford to do so?
Well, the Honourable Lady makes an important point, but the number one cause of people not self-isolating is if they have symptoms or they have coronavirus without symptoms and don't get a test. And that's the area where we need the most effort. I hear the point that she's making, and I'll take it away.
John Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Is my right honourable friend aware that cotrimoxazole is receiving tests against COVID in Bangladesh, and that the results from there and India will be published very shortly, with increasingly good results coming out of that? And when are we likely to see it in use here?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will immediately look into this this proposal. I would be surprised if my scientists aren't already across the trial, and we'll make sure that if there's a positive signal in that trial, we will absolutely bring it forward.
Video link. Vicky Foxcroft.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Today I wrote to the Chancellor and the Business Secretary on the need for more support for those high-risk people currently shielding. Does the Health Secretary agree it is essential those currently shielding have faith in government advice? And if so, will he commit to publishing a full risk assessment for each category on the shielding list before the 1st of August? Health Secretary, now is the time to use the full capacity of government communication to reassure people. Will he?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I agree very much with the sentiments of what the Honourable Lady said. The challenge is that the number of different groups within shielding is essentially as big as the number of people who are shielding themselves. And so we've taken the approach that individuals will get individual clinical advice on what's right for them, and that is the best way forward.
Andrew Sellew.
A young couple contacted me over the weekend to ask why it is that any number of people without restriction can spend the whole evening in a pub eating and drinking, and yet as from the 1st of August only 30 can go to a wedding reception. Is there any comfort that the Secretary of State is able to give people in that position?
Well, the explanation is that in the pub they will have to be socially distanced at 2 metres or 1 metre plus mitigation, and that unfortunately, this virus is still at large, and so having very large groups of people in a situation where it's absolutely normal to be in very close contact is a risk. These are all judgments, and unfortunately, this is one of the judgments that we've had to make.
Catherine West.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy